All right, welcome everybody to the comic panel. I'm Cody,
I'm Talon.
And I'm Shawenta.
and today we are covering Rogue Sun, Volume 1, Cataclysm, written by Ryan Parrot, art by Abel, with Simone Ragazzoni on issue 5, Francesco Mordarino for the interludes, colored by Chris O'Halloran on issues 1 through 4 and the interludes, and Natalie Marquez on issues 5 and 6. Lettered by Becca Carey. Production artists by Tricia Ramos and Deanna Phelps. Logo designed by Phonographics. Edited and designed by Michael Busitil. And Rogue Sun was created by Ryan Parrot and Abel. All right. So, and just before we kind of get into it, this book is part of the Massive universe. So it takes place in the same universe as Rogue Sun, which we read.
Radiant Black.
Radiant Black, right. This is Rogue Sun. Right, so it takes place in the same universe as Radiant Black. And yeah. So, Talon, you picked this book.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about why you picked it? And
Didn't you also pick Radiant Black?
yeah.
I did not.
Oh,
That was you.
I picked Radiant Black? Oh, yeah, you're right. I totally did. I forgot of that.
Started this whole thing.
So yeah, basically, it was my turn to pick, and I didn't want to go with a comic that I would normally read. So I didn't want to go with like Batman or Spider-Man or something like that, And so I was basically just browsing through Hoopla. Actually, it might have been Comixology. And I came across Rogue Sun, and I read the synopsis of it. And what particularly got me was, I'll read the whole synopsis. Yesterday, New Orleans' greatest hero, Rogue Sun, was murdered. Today, rebellious teenager Dylan Siegel discovers that Rogue Sun was his estranged father, Marcus, and that he's inherited his father's mantle. Tasked with protecting our world from the forces of the supernatural and solving his father's murder, Dylan will be forced to come to terms with the man he spent the majority of his life hating. And so that last part in particular of coming to terms with the man that he spent the majority of his life hating, like something about that just like spoke to me of like, oh man, that's really interesting, like the premise.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll read it. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally got to the end of the book and found out that it was part of the Massive universe. I was like, oh okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I remember it being Talon choosing, the first Massive book we read. And so when you posted that cover, I was like, that looks like familiar. I'm getting the same vibes.
Yeah.
And then when we started, I was like, oh, yeah, of course.
No, when I started reading it too, I got that like, oh man, this is like Radiant Black. Interesting.
It's just the cover. Somehow just the cover. I wonder if it's like the suit design or something.
I mean, Ryan Parrot was involved somewhere along the way with Radiant Black. I don't think he was there in the beginning necessarily. But.
Yeah, it's definitely like, him and Kyle Higgins worked together. They're like kind of writing partners, basically. Like they worked together on the Boom Studios, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Oh, wow.
And they, I guess, apparently it wasn't, so like Radiant Black is like Radiant Black is the first thing for this universe, kind of, but then there was also a different series that Ryan Parrot wrote called Cowl, and it's like, COWL, like it's an acronym.
Oh, okay.
And that apparently was published in 2014, and there was like, they basically brought that series into this universe.
Gotcha.
Retroactively making it the first part of it.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah, that's kind of like, the connection, I guess. They're just both kind of work together a lot. But yeah, and also the artists too. I think, you know, like this one is like Abel, and Abel didn't work on Radiant Black, but I think, you know, they just, yeah, they all kind of work together a lot.
Gotcha.
But yeah, cool. So yeah, I guess, you know, you did read the synopsis, but to get into a little bit more details about what this is about, basically, yeah, there is a kind of supernatural superhero in New Orleans, and he's been around for a long time, and one night he dies, and then we get to meet Dylan. He is kind of a outcast high school bully type.
Who doesn't see himself as a bully, really.
Right, yeah, no, he wouldn't call himself that at all, but his actions definitely show it pretty easily. And very rough around the edges.
Like his father.
Yeah.
Reading the book, you get that's a burn.
Yeah. A lawyer visits his house and tells him that, you know, basically his father has died, and so he should come to the reading of the will, basically.
Yeah.
And
specifically died in a car crash, so they don't know.
Yeah, they don't know that his father was Rogue's son. Man, it's really hard not to say Radiant Black when I mean Rogue's son and Rogue's son when I mean Radiant Black. They just both have R names, and so if you hear me say Radiant Black, I probably mean Rogue's son, because Radiant Black does not show up in this book. Let's just make a blanket.
Actually, he does, I think.
Okay.
Like in the art. Like he's not mentioned directly.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure they'd love to do a little Easter egg like that.
Yeah. In plot synopsis terms, I'm not going to actually mention him. So if you hear me mention him, I mean Rogue's son. Anyway, though, yeah. So Dylan does not know at the time that his father was Rogue's son, but as soon as he goes to the will reading, he finds out. And basically, in the will, he's given the, the sun amulet? It's
Sunstone.
Sunstone, yeah.
Okay.
And that gives you the powers of Radiant Black. And, basically he decides, wow, I really just did the thing that I said. He gives him the power of Rogue's son. And he decides to become the new Rogue's son. And it has this feature, the Sunstone does, that it like kind of flashes whenever he is needed. And so it does...
I mean, his half siblings aren't super happy that he's the one who got it, even though, you know, the dad, you know, had like left, you know, Dylan when he was like 2 and had like had this whole new family at this point. And they're like, well, you know, we knew him, we were close to him before he died. Like, why wouldn't we get it?
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
It's like, what a like open secret.
Yeah, definitely.
I wish Dad had made me Superman after he died.
Yeah.
Fighting about it at the will reading.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But yeah, that's thank you for bringing that up, because I definitely forgot to mention that there is a second family, because Dylan's father had left him, you know, and so but
him and his mother.
Yeah, him and his mother.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's why it's so contentious that he was chosen to inherit the Sunstone. But yeah, he goes out to fight or to stop a robbery, basically, and just barely, you know, actually, no, he doesn't stop the robbery, actually.
bad at it.
Nope.
Yeah, he's very bad at it.
It's
And
interesting. When he first gets the stone, he's like stoked, right? Like he tells his mom along the lines of like, she's like, I really don't want you to do this. Like, your dad left us. You don't need to do this. Like, you're not obligated to. And
Yeah.
he's like, this is the equivalent of winning the lottery.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, how?
yeah,
I guess for a teen, it's like superpowers. It's
yeah,
like, but that doesn't mean money, which you seem to worry about.
right. He does. I think he does like really think that this is going to bring them money somehow. Which I mean, yeah, that is like at the end of the book. I won't skip ahead too much, but it is like kind of like technically the original Rogue Sun did make money off of
Yeah.
of being Rogue Sun, but I'm not sure if Dylan is thinking that through all the way. I don't know. Maybe he thinks he can strike some like marketing deals, I don't know.
I was expecting him to say something really childish, like, well, they give you money when you like save them, right? Hero of the city.
I was
don't know.
thinking kind of more like he thought that with saving people, like that brought notoriety, and in being notorious, but in a good way.
Yeah.
In being famous, like that's your ticket out of there. Like I guess I didn't see it as he specifically was thinking it'll bring them money.
Right. Yeah.
It was just like more fame equals more money.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, so he comes to find out that his father is basically linked to the suit, his soul.
Yeah.
And so like whenever he is powered up as Rogue Sun, he is able to see and speak to his estranged dad, who is trying to help him in being a superhero, but also he wants to basically have somebody who will be able to figure out who his killer was, solve the mystery of who killed him, because he doesn't know yet, and he suspects that it's somebody who is close to him, and that's why. Oh, good.
Well, yeah. Sorry, you could continue.
Oh, okay, yeah. He suspects that it's one of his family members, either one of his children, because basically, and that's why he gave Dylan the Sunstone in his will, was because he knew. Yeah, he didn't know him.
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much tries to motivate Dylan, right, at that moment.
Yeah.
Because Dylan's losing this other fight again, just like he did last time. And his dad's like, okay, if you want the truth, you got to promise to punch me really hard or whatever. He's like, the truth is, I don't really care about you, and that's why I made you Rogue Sun next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he first tries to motivate him by saying, like, oh, I believe in you. Like, that's why I chose
Yeah,
you.
you're just so responsible. I always knew you'd be able to step up to the challenge. He's like, Dad, we don't like each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and then kind of starts like, basically he talks to some of his half siblings, some more to kind of investigate. But earlier he was fighting a hillbilly vampire werewolf
called Billy Bloodmoon.
Yes, Billy Bloodmoon.
Part of the Blood Moon clan family.
Yeah. And he only escaped because the sun rose. But
Dylan only was able to like win in quotation marks because the sun rose and stopped him from having his head bashed in.
Yeah. But Billy Bloodmoon picked up on his scent, so when night falls again, he attacks him in his car, while he is not powered up as Rogue Sun, and gets into a car crash. Luckily, he's okay, but then he has to fight him. And that's where, the big sucker punch, where he's trying to punch his dad in the face that you were talking about earlier, punches the vampire werewolf in the face. And from there, his dad says to call his half sister. What's her name? Ari. Yeah. And that's where we kind of learn, or well, not yet actually. I guess I thought we were going to go to the jewelry shop sooner, but that happens later, I guess. But basically, he's told that she knows what to do with these monsters. Basically, take care of them.
And then, like right after that, Dylan flies away, talks with his dad, and basically makes a deal with him, saying, "We figure out who your killer is, and you leave." Because apparently he can do that as a disembodied spirit.
Yeah. And then, this is the first interlude, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we get an interlude that's like kind of an introduction of probably the big bad of the series, I have to think, because it's not the villain of this book as much. Yeah. But,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is the thing that he stole from the auction? Because that's what I thought.
Yes, I believe. Yeah.
It's some sort of way of communicating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they say something along the lines of like, don't drop it, or else you're gonna like ruin the fabric of reality or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So probably communicating with another dimension.
Yeah. Admittedly, I did kind of like, wasn't plot relevant for this book, so my brain kind of forgot all about it. I was like...
I already forgot about it. But it is kind of plot relevant, right?
Yeah.
Especially with like who the villain of this arc is.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So moving on. Okay, that's why, so then we go to what looks like a jewelry store, but in reality it is a magical super prison, where we meet
Dottie
is her name, the owner of the jewelry shop, and she is a magician. She can basically put the body and spirit of monsters into diamond pieces and, puts them on necklaces in a little chandelier prison.
Is it specifically a menagerie?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah.
That's the title of this issue.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense then. I don't really know what a menagerie is. I'd have to Google it.
Yeah, but it basically looks like a chandelier.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's a chandelier, but yeah, maybe it means the same thing. Yeah. So then, Dylan's dad basically, he's able to reveal multiple, memories to Dylan, the moment of his death, basically, and also a memory of his son right before he left on the patrol.
A suspicion of his youngest son being the murderer. Mm-hmm. His youngest son, who's probably elementary school age.
Yeah,
gotta be.
Maybe he might be youngest middle school, 6th grader.
Barely middle school.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they just make him so short, man.
Yeah.
He's just a little dude. And he's like that last memory of before the dad, went off to fight and died in this incident. The son being like, "Dad, what if somebody did something really bad and they couldn't take it back? What should they do?" And he's like, "You just gotta live every day making up for it." He's like, but we'll talk about this more later. He's like, what if you don't come back? And he's like, bye. As always, leaving his children behind.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of a sus way to end the conversation. What if you don't come back?
Yeah.
And maybe
I'm
he
sure
maybe
the
he
kid is asking that every day. But yeah, for him to be like, it might be him. We need to investigate my other son, the one I care about more.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so yeah, they go and like check out his room when he's not there, and they find a bunch of cash in his like sock drawer, like a lot of cash.
It was like a few $1,000s.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, well, we're gonna like, basically follow him wherever he goes. And so they follow him to like kind of a swampy area. I guess this does take place in New Orleans. You don't really get a lot of stuff in my mind, at least. Maybe it's like, okay, New Orleans is not like just always the
Oh yeah.
like
It's not always Mardi Gras.
yeah, not Mardi Gras and all that stuff, but was not getting any like particular imagery that somebody not from New Orleans
Gotcha.
would. But yeah, so they follow what's the son's name? I've forgotten all
Brock.
the characters' names. Brock. Follows Brock to the swamp where he's meeting this shadowy figure, and his dad is all like, let's play this smart. And he's like, yeah. And he's like,
Yeah.
Hey, Brock, what the hell are you doing here? It's so funny. And yeah, so there's like, this very like monstrous,
The
being.
shadowy, goopy, hermit-looking figure.
Yeah.
Hulking, like, frame. Hulking.
Like a less put together swamp thing.
Kind
Well, it's like
of.
Swamp Thing if he put, like, a little cloak on and had a little
Yeah.
staff.
Mm-hmm.
And antlers.
Yeah, and animal parts. He's
Yeah.
like, he's an animal thing.
The way
But
they
yeah,
just,
it turns out to be, like, what's it called? Like a witch doctor.
yeah.
Uses roadkill to, like, assemble himself, I guess.
Yeah. That's why he wasn't as easily identifiable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because he'll look different depending on the day.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, Rogue Son Dylan basically just assumes that, he's a threat, because, oh yeah, that's right. He starts choking out Brock because Brock was supposed to come alone.
He's like, yeah, so the witch doctor.
Yeah.
Because not like Rogue Son.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, the witch doctor, suddenly turns on Brock. It's like, I guess I gotta take care of him now.
So yeah, they start fighting until like, basically he's kind of,
Dismembered.
yeah, but can still talk because he's magic.
Thrown against a tree.
Yeah. And revealed that he was just buying a plant, basically. I mean, it's a magic plant, but it's called Death Sage.
Yeah.
And basically now Brock is blacklisted. He'll tell every dealer of Black Sage that to not sell to him. But yeah,
Which is kind of like, he says that and you're like, man, you're a bit of a softie.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's like that probably sucked to get attacked, but he like recorporates himself and just like walks away. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's kind of like somebody being like, I'm never gonna let you buy ice cream again.
You're right.
Ever.
Yeah.
I'm
damn.
going to tell every ice cream vendor not to sell to this guy.
Yeah, but then basically the Death Sage is, you can talk to to somebody who is dead.
And I thought it was literally like bringing him back kind of thing.
I interpreted that.
Oh,
too,
okay.
as bringing him back.
Huh.
Yeah, so they're like, oh, I guess Brock didn't kill his dad because he wants to bring him back now.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, can be both. But no, Brock, they pretty much interrogate Brock. I mean, he opens up
Yeah.
where he's like, uh, no, I wasn't talking about myself betraying my dad. It's just some kid at school.
Yeah.
Literally.
Like set the teacher's cat on fire.
Mm-hmm. The one time a kid asked his parent, like, hey, what if I had a friend? And that's actually true.
Yeah, I feel
What
like
a
that's such
red herring.
a story thing too. Like I don't. Well, there's been like times where I've asked people, but like not wanted to admit it's myself, But I'm like hardly ever as a kid, I'm
That's
just
fair.
like that's too complicated.
That's fair.
It's a little too much thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
But yeah. So and then basically Dylan like promises to Brock that he's all like, well, your dad is in this suit, and I'm just waiting until you're old enough. I'll let you be Rogue Son once you get older.
Well, he
Yikes.
tries to like placate him by saying specifically it was the dad's idea, right? Like, oh, he only gave it to me because he wants to give it to you when you're older.
Yeah.
So I'm just holding on to it.
Yeah.
Since like nobody can actually talk to the dad's soul.
Right.
Only, person wearing the suit using the sunstone.
Yeah.
But it's a lie.
It will become a lie. He might have meant it at the time. Yeah, and then so he drops Brock off back at home, and basically, yeah.
And then he asks for his father if he had any memories of him as a kid. And his father was like, no, I deleted them. I was like,
Yeah.
Oh, great.
What a liar.
Yeah.
Great father you are.
It's such a teen thing to say between people. Like, no, I deleted them all. Not even like, oh, I can only access the most recent.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's fair. Oh wait,
no,
even
I
worse.
hate you.
Even worse. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be pretty good.
Yeah, then we cut back to the jewelry store, and one of the jewels is gone, and it turns out that Ari has freed one of the monsters, and
Oh, come on. She has a name.
she does have a name. I'll get to there. As also once I remember it.
Monica?
Yeah.
Mnemonica.
Like harmonica, but the opposite.
No.
It's like Monica, but demon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
D Monica. You've been D Monica.
It's Demon in Monica. Oh my gosh.
A little silly.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, so then we get another interlude. It is. Oh yeah, that's right. This is the recently captured Billy Moon or Blood
Blood Moon, yeah.
Blood Moon. Okay,
Yeah.
I was like Moon Blood. That's not a name. Yeah, Billy Blood Moon. And basically, he's inside the crystal.
Yeah.
And
It's like Phantom Zone-esque.
yeah, but he is being, rehabilitated basically,
Which I wonder if that's true. This seems very ominous.
Yeah, it is a little ominous, but I'm going to take their word for it for right now.
I mean, it didn't really show up again for the entire series. So,
Yeah.
Or this part of the series,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that we read.
Yeah. I don't have reason to believe other than some of the imagery
Yeah.
that there is like an Eye of Sauron kind of thing, you know, so that it is kind of like a little bit like, is this evil? But I'm like, I don't know. It would have been more evil if they were just trapped in those crystals and like couldn't do anything. So
just walking around in a flat, open space, nothing.
So yeah, cut back to Mnemonica. She is Demonica. I keep saying Mnemonica. It's like necromancy. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Demonica, she is going around a graveyard trying to find people that died during really turbulent times, who might have like, very upset souls, basically.
The bitterness just enhances the flavor.
So she finds somebody from who died around like the 1920s, I think. Yeah, the Great Depression, influenza, all that stuff. So she is able to bring the soul up as a ghost and then eat it, and that gives her power, basically.
She just looks for sinners, right?
Yeah.
That's what she claims.
Right, yeah, stuff like that.
So, like, is she religious?
It's all just, just mix all of the magic of and mythology of everything together. It's a very, I don't know, it's not secular, but it's like,
soft magic system.
Yeah. It's just like mix everything together. Everything's real.
It's a melting pot.
Yeah. And then, consequences come back to Dylan for bullying one of the kids in his school.
Yeah, because he had a girlfriend that had some kind of self-esteem and broke up with him. And so...
Well, that's not related to this incident, but yes.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Oh,
no.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
you skipped ahead.
Yeah, I just skipped ahead from that part. Like, it really, like, I mean, yeah, that's important to Dylan's character, I guess, but, like, he just keeps getting rejected, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah.
His former girlfriend is like, you kind of suck, Dylan.
Yeah.
Like, you are an actual bully.
Yep.
Like, my friends told me never to go with you, and you're just, like, proving them right with everything they said about you. And Dylan's like, aw, man.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, like you were saying, he gets suspended, right?
Right.
For 3 weeks.
And the kid, it wasn't even like the kid snitched on him. He's like, I can't believe you snitched on me for making you do my homework.
Yeah.
The kid's like, I swear I didn't.
Yeah.
So, what is it? Comes out his mom snitched on him, which, like...
Or no...
First of all, does his mom, like... Huh?
His teacher was the one that clued the mom in.
Well, the teacher called the mom. She's like, does your child know this word? Like, facetiously. And the mom's like, oh... He doesn't. He's so dumb.
I was so upset because I was trying to look at that word, and I was like, I don't know what this word is. And I had to look it up, and I was like,
plus ly, which is like a word I use.
I was like trying to say like facetiously.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I will admit, I didn't know that's how facetiously is spelt. So,
I mean, you don't typically use that form of it, right? That's just like excessive.
Yeah. You say facetious.
Yeah, it is pretty excessive, but yeah, I'm not sure that I would spell facetious correctly either. Writing it down, I'd be like, but yeah.
His mom, like, I guess just doesn't work because she's like, oh my god, and then she's just there when Dylan like comes home. Is like, I can't believe you did this to me, Mom.
That's interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting. She's
an easy life as a single mother.
Yeah.
I'm being mean now to her.
I was like, that's
No, ironic. or not ironic, but I know that you were being facetious.
Word of the day.
Yeah.
There you go.
But Dylan is all like, whatever, Mom, I have to go be Rogue Son. People need me. And so, yeah, he goes and, Demonica is basically, starting to suck the energy out of people. And so, yeah, he starts fighting her. He's still really bad at this. He, all of the night before, his dad was trying to basically teach him to use this, like, big chest laser, basically.
Yeah.
It's the most powerful weapon that he has, and it just wasn't working, could not get it to activate.
It was the Blackfire. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
the Blackfire, yes.
Which is funny. It's like backfire.
Not sure if that was intended, but
I doubt it.
yeah.
But it backfired.
Does it?
Well, in the fact that it didn't work at first.
I guess, yeah. But yeah, so pretty much Dottie, immediately goes to Ares, mom, and is like, hey, we know that you are the one that stole the crystal,
Yep.
and she's basically like, I did it because, Dylan doesn't deserve the Rogue Son, mantle.
He doesn't want to be like with our father. Like
Right,
he doesn't
yeah.
care about him, right? And so it's like, well, I'm trying to save him.
Right.
Or I'm
Yeah.
trying to save my dad.
Exactly. Yeah. And she's all like, well, I have Demonica, under my control. She's not going to kill anybody. Just take the stone from Dylan, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then while they're fighting, there's suddenly a new mysterious figure, the one who killed the original Rogue Son,
Yep.
and is revealed, finally, at the end of the murder mystery, to be Dylan's mom.
Dun dun dun. Wow.
Thank you for that drum roll.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and then we get, a series of flashbacks of, basically their relationship together. Marcus is his name. I feel like
Yes.
I've been referring to him as, Dylan's dad.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff like that. Marcus.
Yes. And then his mom's name is Gwen.
Gwen. Yeah. Gwen Siegel, which I think is also, I'll just put this in here. I was like, man, that spelling of Siegel is really particular. I think that it's maybe a reference to Jerry Siegel, co-creator of Superman, but also co-creator of The Spectre, a different supernatural hero.
Interesting.
Yeah, and also kind of green cloaked,
Oh.
yeah.
True.
But anyway, so yeah, we see, their relationship in when Dylan is first born, and
They look so much alike.
yes. Marcus looks a lot like Dylan.
Makes sense. But
Yeah. Then we cut back to the reveal and Dylan reacting to his mom being his dad's killer. And basically he is the only one that has both of their voices in his head. His mom is literally there, and his dad, of course, is, there like he is, like we've explained. Yeah. But his mom can't, communicate with his dad. But his dad can, can't communicate with his mom, but can see her and hear her. So yeah, there's different layers of communication going on, but Dylan has the most burden of input.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it makes him like, basically really freak out with like, all of the
It's like too many opposing voices. Like,
yeah. Especially because he
Well,
does
not just that. I mean, the fact that they're like fighting over his allegiance.
right.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you need to end your mom now. This shows how dangerous she was. She killed me just because she thought like just for you. But like that's not a good enough reason.
Yeah.
Like the fact that she can be led to murder. And it's
Right.
like, I'm trying to protect you from your dad. That's why I had to like literally kill him. Dylan, you need to, put a stop to this.
Yeah.
It's like, put a stop to who?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, it's revealed that like 6 months ago, Marcus had shown up and talked to Gwen and was all like, yeah, I want to be able to like, talk to Dylan because like basically he is such a bad student. He's not going to graduate. He's like, you know.
He needs a role model, albeit.
He specifically said, "You're losing control of our child."
Yeah.
Yep. We said this was in a flashback, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And Gwen is like,
Actually, even before that, though, we get a flashback of Marcus when he left.
yes. Yeah. That also happened. He basically just said that, he was gone for
6 months.
6 months, yeah. And so Gwen is like happy to see him at first, and then basically he's all like, but I'm leaving, and it's not for another mission. I just don't love you anymore, And she, like, rightfully is upset. She gets mad. She says, like, well, if you walk out on me, you're never going to see Dylan again,
Or don't come back.
And don't come back, yeah.
And he's like, challenge accepted.
Do you promise?
Oh.
Yeah, so then he does come back, though, but it's like, Dylan is definitely a teenager,
Well, it was 6 months before all of this is the main story.
Yeah. Yes. And yeah, basically Gwen is like, no, I said, you're not going to have any, control. Like you resigned your right to, have influence over Dylan, to be his parent, so like just leave, and, but Marcus says, I'm sorry you feel that way, but this conversation was simply a courtesy done out of the respect for the fact that you raised him. Like you said, I'm a superhero. If I want to see my son, how are you going to stop me?
We got to mention the fact that Marcus is I think the best way to describe him is unapologetic.
Yeah, blunt.
Yeah. And like he doesn't change. Like, even in talking to Dylan as a disembodied spirit, like, he's still that same way. Mm-hmm. And so.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we get another flashback. It's 1 week after, so it's, like, still 6 months ago, pretty much, but 1 week later from that flashback. And she meets up with, basically the villainous force that we met in the first interlude, because you can tell from his speech bubbles that are all red and wiggly. Basically, she asks for power. He says, you can have that power if you eat this bug, but you'll basically be forever linked to your soul will be linked to mine. And so yeah, she goes and uses it to kill Marcus, to seemingly protect Dylan. And now she's here. She's had to reveal herself to protect him from Demonica. And she's basically like, yeah, both you and Marcus, like, talking to Dylan, like, I just never even understood why, like, you put them in, like, away and then they escape, like, this whole cycle.
Yeah.
Like, even after Marcus left, I'd read it in the paper. So she just kills Demonica. It's like,
because Rogue Sun and Demonica would like fight many times, like kind of like a Batman Joker kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like it's just a regular rogue, not necessarily like a arch nemesis.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, but always like Demonica is always wounding him pretty badly. Like I think the last time it took him like a week to like recover. So she's like, why wouldn't you just kill her?
Yeah,
like.
This makes sense. So yeah, then she gives Dylan, like, basically an ultimatum. She's like, give me the Sunstone. And he refuses, so she's all like, I'll destroy Rogue Sun once and for all.
And then, I don't know if we've necessarily, like, made this apparent, but, like, Gwen is very much like, I don't want Marcus in your life.
Right, yeah.
At all.
Yeah, she does kind of think that Marcus is basically like brainwashing Dylan, influencing him, kind of like, she's even like, he's been like feeding you lies, making you think that I'm like evil. And I'm like, actually.
Yeah. The truth is, Mom.
Yeah. But basically, Gwen's powers that she's acquired, they work better, specifically, I think, on Rogue Sun and the closeness that she has with the person who is Rogue Sun. And so she is even closer with Dylan, obviously, than she was with Marcus, and therefore is easier to hurt him. But yeah, basically he finally is able to tap into his big chest laser.
Yep. Was it the black fire?
Black fire, yes. And yeah, but luckily, she's magic, so she's not dead. And yeah, they decide to put her in the crystal prison. And yeah, then Dylan and Marcus have a conversation on a rooftop, and basically Dylan's like, all right, it's time for you to go. And Marcus is kind of like, hey, I could still be of use to you. You're still learning all this stuff. I can.
More like he's saying, like, no, I'm not leaving. This city, I've been protecting it all my life.
Yeah, okay, maybe, that's maybe a better reading of him, But, yeah, but so I think he also is somewhat appealing to how he could help Dylan too, like, but he's more insistent that Dylan needs him rather than being like, it could be good. He's like, you should really do this.
Well, he also kind of says along the lines of like, we can't undo this,
Yeah.
So.
Once I'm gone forever. That's it. You can't ask me back.
Which I'm pretty sure is not going to be true because Demonica lifted a soul from a grave, so...
I don't know. But she sucked that soul down, though, and then I think that soul's gone.
Well, yes. That one is unfortunate. But...
Yeah. I don't know.
I will say that, like, you get the impression that Dylan doesn't want to do this, but he's committed to it already.
Right, yeah.
And it's, like, lashing out because he's hurt.
Huh. I did not get that, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I got a little bit of, like, resistance, like, especially on the, like, so, yeah, as we've kind of mentioned now, but to be more clear about it, none of Marcus's attempts work, and so he says like, "No, you're gone. Bye." And then Marcus is gone. But on that last page, he does look very sullen.
True.
Like maybe he's made a mistake. And later we'll also see some more. If he didn't feel bad about it then, he feels bad about it later, but we'll get there. But he comes home, and Dylan's stepmom is waiting for him. So she is like, "Hey, you don't have any parents now. Like, what are you going to do?"
And he's 17.
And he's 17, right? She's like, "You should come and live with us in our mansion because I want you to, you know." You just had, like, basically she kind of implies, or I mean, directly says that she's had disappointing parents. So she, like, feels for him. And both of her other children are like, "Yeah, you know, basically
this guy again."
Yeah, this guy again. Somehow they kind of also know already that Marcus is gone. Like, that was, I'll get to that later too, I guess. But like, Brock even says, "Did you do it? Did you get rid of our father?" I'm like, how? Okay. But their mom is like, "You're going to, like, you know, treat him with respect. He's a guest at our house," you know, all of that. And then we cut back to him at school after his suspension is over, and the kid who basically, you know, still unintentionally, but got him in trouble, is being bullied. And at first he's kind of is all like, "Hey, I'd like to bully this kid too. That looks fun." Like, that's what his dialogue seems to indicate to the other bullies. But then he's like, "Oh, I was actually thinking that I'd pick on you," to the other bully.
So he beats off, like, he pretty much intimidates the other bullies away. And the kid is like, "That was awesome. Thanks so much. You know, we're great friends." He's like, "We're not friends. Like, I only did that because I wanted to fight somebody. I didn't do it for you."
Yeah.
Very angsty.
Then he goes up on the roof of the school, because I guess, you know, that's just very accessible even to people without flight, you know. And you know, powers up to Rogue Sun and asks, you know, like, "Marcus, Dad," you know, and not there. So and he looks once again very sullen and flies off. And that's the end of the book. So yeah, what did you all like about this book?
There's many things, so that's like hard to start with one. But I don't know, I just like, as I indicated before, of like, I like the idea of like, oh, he has to come to terms with somebody he's hated his whole life. And so like, I was very interested to see how that was all going to come about. And I don't think that it actually, it did not happen the way that I expected, because I expected some kind of closure by the end of this volume.
Right.
And there wasn't. Like, or I guess not even closure, but like, I thought he would come around to seeing his father in a better light, but that did not happen.
Right.
And so I just liked how that, like, the whole story, like, how he getting there, like.
Yeah, I could see that. I kind of thought that, you know, there was going to be more of a, like, Batman Beyond mentor-mentee kind of relationship, and then it was just like, oh, no. Like, you know, honestly, like, pretty much all of the training that Marcus tried to give Dylan didn't really work anyway.
Nope.
And yeah, so, and now it's like, that's done. That's no longer part of the story. I mean, remains to be seen. I will say, I think that there is a chance Marcus could be back, but I think that they don't bring him back.
Really?
Yeah. I think that it's better for Dylan to have to like live with his choices a little bit more.
Okay.
But I don't know.
It's definitely a risk they took.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, something that I liked, I feel like this really surprised me at times with because I was really like, okay, we're investigating the son. I do get the kind of creepy vibes that they're talking about off of him, but like he's definitely the red herring, like, and then I was like, oh, like very early on, I was like, oh, it's totally the sister, because like they were even kind of getting along and spending time with each other. And I was like, you guys are still siblings. Like, don't insert any like weird, like romantic subtext in this, but you're definitely getting along more than I like kind of expected, which so the twist that they would be like, she would be the bad guy. That would make sense. And then they revealed like, she's the one that released Demonica. And I was like, okay, yep, I was right. And then I was like, oh, I was still wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was all like, is it the wife, the second wife? But I pretty much like at that point I was reading fast enough that it was like, the reveal just happened, It was just like,
gotcha,
okay,
gotcha.
yeah. And then I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that though. I wasn't expecting Dylan's mom.
Yeah.
But then once, along with the flashbacks and then like thinking about other past scenes, it like made more and more sense. Where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Honestly, I was on the same boat as Marcus when it was revealed that it was his mom. Because Marcus says like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. Why would you do this? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I didn't have probable cause.
Yeah.
But yeah, that reveal was like, peak. I love that. And then when it was like, okay, Marcus, I mean, not Marcus. Okay, Dylan, give me the Sunstone or I'm going to fight you. I was like, oh, no way.
I liked a lot of that portion of, because I was like, yeah, the dad kind of sucks. It sucks that the mom has done this. It's like a very intense thing to do. And so I felt for Dylan in that moment. Yeah. Like, I was like, I can, they keep revealing different information. Like the fact that the dad, like, would just take a part of the money that, like, the people were stealing. Like, villains he had, like, defeated. Like, that's how he's making money, too. It's just, like, a scummy little thing to do.
Right.
But does that mean I need to, like, kill him?
Right.
Yeah.
So, back and forth. And it was a little dizzying. Maybe I read it too fast, that part. But I felt like it was good for what it was supposed to be.
Yeah. No, that really felt like
tug of war.
Yeah. Sorry. I was just going to say that really felt like, like basically like a insert of like a child of divorce, and like very specifically what experts say you're not supposed to do in those situations, which is like talk bad about the other parent,
right.
very specifically, and try to get the child on your side,
Yeah.
Just like, needling both back and forth, like, well, did you know this? Did you know this? Oh, no.
Like trying to get more and more dirt. Isn't that, so I don't know if we wanted to talk about it. Like, I read part of the back of like issue 1 where like they very clearly say like, yeah, I was a child of divorce.
Oh, I didn't read that part.
No. Yeah, they're like, I always wanted to do comics, and it just didn't work out art school. Like, my parents were like, this kind of, you're not doing great. So I went into writing and, like, movies and stuff, and then finally getting the chance to work on, this.
Huh.
So they didn't super explicitly say, I think, that, like, my experience, but very clearly influenced.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that kind of portion.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes it overtakes the superhero part. But I do like you were saying, Talon, I didn't know the premise when I was going in, so I assumed that he was his he was already that superhero, not that it was his dad.
Oh, okay.
And the moment it's like, oh, your dad died, there's a will reading,
Mm.
and then he gets it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then it's like, oh yeah, hey, it's your dad. I was like, oh man, they haven't talked in forever. This is gonna suck for him. And it's like, yeah, he left when I was 2. I was like, oh, this is a stranger.
Yeah.
who, like, you hate.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so the line that just like resonates in my mind that Marcus said was like, I left because I had to, which I don't know if we necessarily touched on that, but Marcus indicates that the reason he left Gwen and Dylan was there was some like reason dealing with him being a superhero that he had to leave. And so he says to Dylan, I had to leave. I left because I had to. I left your mother because I wanted to. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah, that definitely seemed even more like, I don't know, to me, like, yeah, the full mystery here, like, did Marcus really, because he seems like kind of under duress a little bit in that flashback to me, like maybe there's more going on than what's being revealed. But yeah, so that line and scene made me think more of like, basically like the child of divorce thing where it's like, that's something that you would say basically because it's like, yeah, she was so horrible. I wanted to do it, like to more like you're convincing yourself, like.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm sure that is more like has an effect on the child rather than the child. It has a negative effect on the child rather than the child understanding, oh yeah, you left because, oh
yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. But that was a strong line though for that too. It's just like, ooh, that's horrible to say.
Yeah. But so what I thought was interesting was like, how much should we trust Gwen's side of the story? Because it seems to end like there's some indication of like maybe she is like crazy. Like I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but there is a level of like, well, it does seem that she, like, instead of seeing him going out and being a superhero, she thought, oh no, there was somebody else. Right? And granted, that's something Marcus said. And then with like...
You're being influenced by him. You're being manipulated by him.
Yeah. Or like when she was saying like, oh, did you know that he stole money from the people? And then Marcus is like, do you hear this? I had to put up with this, all the time. That's why I left. And then to me, like the biggest thing of like, oh yeah, I wanted to take my son back. So now I'm going to kill you. It's like, that seems kind of crazy behavior right there.
Yeah, it's certainly drastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, there's some of the things that like, she like accuses him of is like, like some of it's verifiable and he admits to it, and other things it's like, oh, that's, maybe like, you're just thinking, you're insecure basically.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of like, the paranoia started mounting, until eventually, he left her, and that was like, kind of traumatic, which is sensible, but like, so yeah, that is interesting. I do wonder also, it does seem like there is unreliability in some of the flashbacks and well, not even unreliability, but like more that we're only getting one perspective and there might be more truth, you know, from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also seems like Gwen maybe knows more too, just like before she gets put in the crystal. I can't quite remember what she says to Dylan, but like, you know, it's like, you're making a mistake, you know, there's like more that you don't know. And he's all like, I'm done, you know, put her away.
When you're older, you understand everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's like kind of the normal stuff, but I just thought that there was like more magic-y stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe that was just like me reading more into it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, like, you know, a character who's like, I did everything I did for you. Mm-hmm. And that part of that everything is murder. That's like...
Yeah, and eating a bug.
Yeah, fair. That's kind of crazy. I mean, also selling your soul? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of crazy behavior.
Selling your soul. You ate a bug and sold your soul?
I mean, to be honest, like on a surface level, eating a bug does sound way more gross.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh man, what?
Yeah. So I think that it was paced well too. Like I enjoyed reading it, and it was actually really nice because I felt like there was I really wanted to keep reading it, but then there was times where I was like, okay, I need to stop, you know, it's late at night, whatever, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, this is a good stopping point though, you know? Yeah. I can pick this back up, and yeah, it was good to pick it back up, and I didn't feel like I forgot any important details. Yeah, and it was just a good story in that way in its construction, I feel like. I do have one criticism of that, but I'll get to that, you know, later.
Gotcha. I do want to add, so Juliet is the second wife, Marcus's second wife.
Right.
And so mother of Ari and Brock.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thinking of this at the end, but I was like, I wonder, can she be my favorite character? I don't know if I want to say that, but she's definitely up there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's definitely, like, she gets some of the least screen time / dialogue time, you know, but she is one of the nicest, I think. Like, even Dottie is probably nice, but, like, Dylan just gets a standoffish reaction.
I think it would be like, you know, she's kind, right?
Yeah, she's kind.
But, and so, like, when Dylan goes to their place, she's like, you can't stay here, so live with us. Ari and Brock are, like, protesting a little bit, like, nah, this guy, come on. Mm-hmm. And I just say it like, she lays down the law. She's like, Brock and Ari, your father is dead, and Dylan is risking his life to carry on his legacy. So we will show him the respect he deserves while he is a guest in this home. Is that understood? And I read that, and I'm just like, oh man, I love this woman. This is awesome.
You will show me the respect I deserve.
I mean, yeah, there is a point that, like, she is definitely a different kind of parent than Gwen was, who, like, kind of got walked all over, you know? It's like, oh, you're suspended and grounded. Well, I'm gonna leave. Like,
Yeah.
Well, he's like, he used his excuse of being a superhero to leave.
Yeah.
And she was like,
And I think it could be argued too that Juliet would be a better fit for Marcus than Gwen was. Because, like, to me, Juliet, I think, can go like toe to toe in terms of like we're gonna be like stoic or serious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like social service agent, but I would say, attacking your child in order to get a magical artifact is
Well, I mean, we're getting into that. But fair. Fair.
I think you should simply steal.
No, but to me, Gwen is not on that same level with Marcus, right? Like unapologetic. Marcus.
Or with Dylan.
No, Marcus.
Oh, wait. I didn't realize what you were saying.
I'm still continuing what I was saying. Like,
yeah.
I think Marcus and Juliet are a better fit for each other because of their kind of temperament.
Is that what you meant earlier?
Yes.
I thought that you were saying Juliet was a better fit for Dylan.
Oh,
I was
no.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I totally misunderstood earlier. So I was like, I mean, maybe, but also like it is like his real mom.
No. Yeah, no, that's not what I was saying.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there is kind of subtext, I guess, that like, Marcus had just become Rogue Son pretty much when he met Gwen, and it was also he saved her from like a car accident, so it was like kind of like a little bit of like lightly or maybe not as lightly taking advantage of her, you could say. Like it's like
power advantage of like if you're a fireman, you save someone from a burning building, you're like, can I get your number? It's like, sure.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
So, I mean, yes, I do agree that would have happened. Mm-hmm. But I would also add, like, it seems from even Marcus's perspective of if that was his initial intent, it then did turn into, oh, I actually care about this woman.
Yeah. I think they learned.
Didn't they get married in like 6 months?
Yeah, something like
8 months.
8 months. Okay, yeah. Very quickly though.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that and they, like a lot of people that get in relationships that fast, serious.
I mean, they were young adults. They were very young
Yeah.
adults.
Yeah.
So they're pretty much kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they did learn to care about each other, but also at the same time, it was kind of just founded on this, like, non-understanding of what that kind of commitment was, So, yeah, that's just, like, one of those things, But, so, yeah, I think that getting married to Juliet was probably a much more informed decision, like we don't get much context for that.
Informed by money.
No, all the money came from Marcus apparently. Though.
She did have like family money.
Okay, yeah.
Like he, you got to supplement it. That only lasts so long.
Right. Okay, so that was the best kind of lie, one built on truth. She was actually wealthy, but they're extra wealthy because he steals.
Mm-hmm. See, that's the problem I have with Juliet. It's like Marcus is not great. Mm-hmm. Her children are kind of not super great either because of the way Marcus treats them, and also, I mean, the way they instinctually react to like deal with this new threat.
Yeah.
Dylan. And like Juliet's like, now we're not going to be mean to him verbally, but we are going to try to kill him.
What?
After these like murder attempts or whatever they are.
Yeah. I mean,
kids are in like the middle of the night walking out to go meet witch doctors. Like Juliet's there probably.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's definitely.
I mean, of all the cast, yes, I can see where Juliet being like, "Hey, hey, Dylan, do you need a home after your mother got locked up and your father died? You could probably use a home." And Dylan is like, "Wow, the only offer."
Yeah, I guess I
the
can
low
see that.
bar,
Yeah.
and Juliet is dancing over it.
You mean like of the people, of the parents that are around, like
Of like
they
the
set
people
low.
in Joe's life.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Kind of true. I'd see that. Yeah. And I mean, like, that's, yeah. I wonder how kind Juliet really is, considering, like you said, she's a better, pair with Marcus, So it's like, and he did not become a great guy,
He did not, yeah, he did not suddenly transform himself into a better person.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of hinted at by the fact that he never bothered with his other family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like supporting them financially, like
This is all good points.
saying hi. Not, yeah, I don't know. So like makes me wonder how he raised his kids and what like Juliet was like, I guess you came home with some diamond rings. Thanks.
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of in the middle of the comic, Ari is talking about her father missing her 8th birthday, and that's when he reveals to her that he's Rogue's son. And a part of me wonders if it's like he raised them with a sense of mission, like, hey, this is kind of like our family business in a sense.
I don't even think it's that. I get more of the sense because she wasn't talking to her father because he missed her birthday. She's mad at him, and he's like, hey, actually, I'm a superhero.
That's also a valid interpretation, yeah.
Which is like, and the fact that it seems like they kind of respect him as an authority because of it. Like, I'm mostly like reading between the lines for that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Eventually you'll get this because I'm so special and important.
Mm-hmm.
And you're special and important by being my children.
Yeah. I think that's a interpretation, but I also don't disagree totally that, like, yeah, they imbued some of that, like, I'm special and important, Yeah.
Why didn't I get it? Why does the like loser poor person, my dad didn't even care about this kid. Why does he get it?
Yeah. I was already rich. I don't need money in the will.
That reminded me of something else that I think it was during the swamp scene with Brock.
The witch doctor and Brock.
Yeah, Brock and the witch doctor. Another thing that I liked was that basically you get this sense, and I think it's actually in 2 different places, but Brock's basically like, I like love my father, and the thing that was like his most prized possession or his legacy is passed down to somebody who hates him. Mm-hmm. And that to me, I was like, oh my gosh, like I really felt for that character. Yeah. And so that hit me in the feels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It did feel like,
May I remind you that your father hated me too?
He did say that. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree that, like, yeah, I feel like these characters are pretty, like, honestly written, they feel like their motivations make sense,
I'd say I just find, I don't know if I agree with they're well written. I'll say though, like you're saying, Talon, like a lot of these premises and like what the idea of it's built on is like really interesting, because we're able to talk about all these different like connections to each other and like how they interact. Like we're interested in how they interact.
Yeah.
Based on these like already set up established relationships that are being turned on their head.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. I was also going to say that I think kind of in general what I really liked about this book was the kind of, it subverted a lot of general superhero tropes, I feel like, you know. I kind of mentioned earlier, but I remember I really thought that the Crystal Prison was going to be, you know, the Phantom Zone, Arkham Asylum. Like, you know, it's like you were locked up essentially in solitary confinement, and your only chance of release is literally planning your escape. And
Oh yeah.
and that's it, you know. And it's like, I think a lot of superhero comics, even modern ones, basically, like, you know, kind of dodge around that, even though it's like prison is supposed to be like, you know, to help rehabilitate and reduce recidivism. And it's like, really, like, you're not building a better case for the people that, like, you know, like Gwen, that say, like, you should just kill them. Like, you know, it's like, I'm definitely not saying that that's right, but I'm just like, if you just keep people, like, you are making their life actively worse. Like, so, but then, yeah, they took an interlude to say, no, they're actually trying to do stuff. And even I think before the interlude, or maybe after, I can't remember quite the order of events, but basically once Dottie realizes that Demonica is missing, they're all like, oh yeah, it's about to be movie night and it's your turn to pick. You know, and it's like, oh, that's actually kind of nice, you know, treating them like, you know, human beings, basically. Yeah, I was just like, I was surprised by that subversion. And there was others too, you know, just like I said earlier, I expected it to be a Batman Beyond relationship with Marcus and Dylan, and then where, you know, he's like always in his ear. Actually, I guess there's also even more context for that is also what's his name? The son, or it's the fiery one. He was in the Flash show. The old
Firestorm?
Yeah, Firestorm.
Okay.
Yeah, has the old man in his head. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yep. Yeah, that is more accurate in more ways than one.
But yeah. Also clever little name. It's called Rogue Son, and he's a child son. Yeah. Rogue.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
You seem disappointed with that short.
He's a son on his own.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, did you, because you brought up Batman Beyond, did you notice, at least this was to me, a lot of the characters resemble those characters in Batman Beyond?
Oh, do they?
So to me, Juliet looks like a female version of Terry McGinnis.
Oh.
And Ari kind of looks like, I think her name is Juliet, actually. But it's like the Card Gang. I can't remember their actual name.
It's been too long since I've seen the series, honestly. I can't really remember.
But there's a gang whose shtick is cards.
Right. I guess I do remember the Royal Flush Gang.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes, Royal Flush Gang. There we go.
Yeah.
And so in the show, there's the daughter is Juliet, I think.
Okay.
Don't not necessarily accurate on that. But she's kind of like running away from the gang. She interacts with Terry, and they're like it's kind of a love interest. But anyway, like Ari kind of looks like her, and then Brock looks like Terry's brother.
Yeah. There's a bit of like I can see some Bruce Timm stylings, inspiration, potentially. We'll get into that more when we get to the art segment a little bit.
Sure.
But yeah, I definitely saw some potential Batman leaning stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, not totally off on that. I could see it. But yeah, is there anything else that you guys wanted to mention, or should we move on to what we didn't like?
I like the fact that this is connected to Radiant Black. That was a nice surprise.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that either. Yeah, I was surprised to
They're
find
gonna become
out.
best friends? Are they gonna meet?
Apparently they did already, because there was a crossover that happened before this comic.
The crossover had Marcus in it, though.
Yes.
So
Okay. I was gonna say, like, Dylan is just, like, used to it.
yeah. No, yeah. So that'll probably create some friction between them when they're all like, I know you, and like, you don't know me. I don't know you. Anyway, though, yeah. That's cool. Well, yeah, I'll talk about that later, but yeah, it was cool to find out that this was part of the massive universe. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I feel like there's probably going to be something else that I'm going to think of, but it'll
Fair.
only be after I mention stuff that I don't like, because now it's on my brain.
Yeah.
So starting off, yeah, I did feel like, for one thing, yeah, Dylan is not a very likable character, you know, setting him up to like, yeah, he's a bully. And on top of that, speaking of it being in the massive verse with Radiant Black, is also like, this kind of like a 2-for-1, because it's like, okay, on one, the person, the best friend who becomes the second Radiant Black, he was also a very unlikable character. And then 2,
Oh wow, I forgot that.
yeah, and then 2, on top of that, it really makes the plot seem very, very similar to Radiant Black, where it's like, hey,
Oh, yeah.
look at this surprise twist. The person that you thought was going to be the hero isn't the hero. He died.
See, that requires you to remember what happened in that book.
That's true. I definitely did not remember.
I did not. I would, like I said, I saw the cover. I was like, hey, this seems like, and then, like, I think the first few pages of, like, whatever I read was like, in this universe. And I was like, oh, okay. And then, yeah, we got into it.
Yeah, I will
It's
admit.
so funny that there is actually similarities like that.
Yeah.
I didn't remember.
Yeah, I kind of didn't remember until I was doing a little bit of research after the fact, after I read it. I was like, and then like basically I was just like clicking around Wikipedia pages, and then it was all like the first Radiant Black, and then I was like, oh yeah, there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
Because that like gave me pause at first. I was like, oh, did they do a thing where there was actually like an old Radiant Black, like
yeah.
a, you know, like decades ago kind of thing? And then I like read a little bit, and I was like, oh, right, that's how the story went.
Yeah.
It was very quick succession. But yeah, so yeah, that was kind of a little bit of a bummer to realize, where I was like, these stories are, you know, it's kind of like, the way I was thinking of it to explain it is like, they have the same beat, like in a song, you know, but different lyrics, you know? Like,
That's good. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it was just like, okay, I guess these, like, because it feels too similar to just be like, well, it's a theme, you know?
Okay.
It's just like, okay, I guess you really have a character and like types of twists that you really like to use. And it's not even the same writer, though. It's like,
Well, like you said, they work
That's like,
together.
yeah.
What were you gonna say, Shawinta?
Yeah, I was just agreeing mostly. I guess going back to like something I like mentioned earlier was I don't really feel like the characters are well written. Like I feel like they have a start, but it feels so much like I can feel it's just for the plot and less that it's natural.
Interesting.
It's like they're never like like you were saying with like Dylan, Like he doesn't really have any redeeming features. And I always felt like they knew that and they were trying to work with it, but there's never a scene where he does something where I'm like, oh, he's actually a decent person.
Right.
Or like at least interesting. He just kind of, his whole life is hate my dad and I'm a rebel.
Yeah.
Rogue Son, it's right there.
I guess to be fair, like all the things that I did like revolved around people revolving around him, not him himself.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that he's only ever reactive, but he does seem that way.
Yeah.
He gets his little moments where like, yeah, he like yells out at the witch doctor or something. But it does feel a little bit generic in that this could happen to any divorced child who happened to be in these circumstances.
Right.
Yes. Divorced. Child of divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't feel... I didn't particularly like reading it, I guess, because of that. Like I mentioned previously, like the mother, she's never at work. So that's not so much a problem, that detail. It's the problem that it never feels like characters are naturally doing something they do and then like breaking out of the mold because something crazy is happening. Like he's not at school. He's going to go see the witch doctor. Like he's just going to see a witch doctor. No problems.
Yeah,
like
that also bothered me specifically.
Walking in and out of scenes.
Yeah, because it was that scene transition. There was nothing in between it where it was like, they found the money in the sock drawer and they agree we should follow him, but like we never see Brock taking the money out of the sock drawer or anything.
We also like never saw them go to his room. So like Dylan was like, I don't know why I'd wake up in a place like this. And I was like, where are you?
Yeah.
So I think they were trying to probably, they're trying really hard to fit all of this into 6 issues, which I really feel for.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good amount to fit in. But yeah, I do think this story is kind of...
Yeah.
I will admit, and that I blame the story for this, not me. When I first opened it up, I went, oh man, this is just Radiant Black all over again. Like first page, like the moment I saw the suit and like fighting or something. And I was like, flip through every single, stare at pictures like really quickly. Oh, so-and-so, like there's a character revealing something. Oh, they're all surprised. And like, I just like skimmed through it and like got to the end. I was like, not really interested. And like why they, like what was actually happening. I didn't read anything. I just like looked at the pictures really quick. Punch this, that, yelling at each other in a room.
Right.
Not super interesting as like, doesn't feel lived in.
What do you mean by that?
It goes back to that thing again of like doing typical things, like feeling that the characters have a life outside of like the single scene that's happening.
Yeah.
Which like I just chalk up again to them like having to really try to fit all of this together really quickly. Like we can't have a moment of like, I don't know, it just felt like, okay, we're at the school now because we need to show that Dylan is, like, being mean. Not that, like, this is where he normally is. And, like, him, like, barely sleeping because of his superhero thing, I thought was, like, gonna be, like, an actual, it's hurting him what he's battling. He needs to learn to take care of himself, even if it's like, oh, it sucks that's my dad's the one telling me to do this.
Marcus wouldn't say that.
Well, not just Marcus being like, you need to learn to fight like this. I don't know. There's just, even that's the thing, like with his mom, where his mom was like, I told you to choose between, or, your school life, your life, your real life in general needs to come first before the superhero life.
Yeah.
And like, I guess I kind of saw him suffer consequences for that. It's mostly people being like, "Hey, don't cheat," as
Mm-hmm.
compared to him like falling asleep in class or
Right.
like something that felt less. I guess they're just kind of talking about things all the time,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gotcha.
less than showing. So yeah, that's kind of what you were saying, Cody.
Yeah. Also,
With like, yeah.
yeah, I feel like, yeah, they were trying to fit stuff into 6 issues, but at the same time, they didn't really have enough, like, there was enough plot where it made sense to, like, spread it out, but it really, like, thinking about, like, okay, what happens? I could see this as, like, maybe like a 45-minute like animated single episode, like it's
Yeah.
like the first episode to a series, so it's like a little bit longer, but for the most part it's like this isn't like season 1 though, like this is setting everything up for what the status quo is going to be. So yeah, there just isn't like a lot that's actually there, where it makes sense to spread it out other than time, I guess. But like, I did feel like, why do we have to see Marcus bullying a kid again?
Or Dylan.
Or Dylan, yeah, Dylan bullying a kid again. Like what was that point? Also unnecessarily cruel in a way that I didn't find was realistic. I've kind of forgot about that the second time, with he was like basically I'm trying to remember exactly how it happened. That's right. He's told the kid, you're going to turn in your paper with my name on it and then tell the teacher that you need more time.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's bad stuff, or your hard drive crashed because you were looking at stuff you weren't supposed to. And I'm like,
And he's like,
you don't.
I don't do that. And he's like, yes, you do. And he's
Yeah.
like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Just say like your dog ate it or something.
Right. Or just say, like, you could stop at your hard drive crashed. Teachers understand that. You don't have to come up with, like, some lurid reason that it crashed. Like, it
Fair.
just did.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That was like a lot of the dialogue. There's points where the dialogue was decent, but also, yeah, it really did feel like sometimes they were just like saying how they felt, which like is not realistic.
mm-hmm.
Fair.
Yeah.
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 I didn't take, like, I don't know, thinking back, I was like, I didn't notice any of that. And so, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
just, I'm taking it all in.
Reacting that maybe this comic wasn't as good as you thought.
Oh no, that's not going to change. I will say, so like, this is like more superficial, but I don't like the name Rogue Sun. Like, that doesn't sound like a superhero name to me.
It
Yeah.
just feels too on the nose again.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like-
I guess maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that in parts I liked. I thought it was silly, but also like it made me laugh, and so that's why it was the part that I liked. But yeah, it's like, oh man, that is so on the nose. It's like
yeah.
That's the thing. I couldn't tell, like, with this comic. I felt like they were trying to be humorous, but then also they'd be like, it's a serious moment. He's having strife in his family. Because, like, characters like Billy Blood Moon, it's like, what a silly name. Like, even they pointed out.
Yeah.
yeah. I really feel like
It
they're
feels like this is supposed to be more of a joke, but I'm not really laughing.
yeah, it's definitely that kind of thing where it's trying to walk the line, and I feel like even. Do you think that this is specifically like the target demographic is teenagers?
I mean, I guess since they're all teens, right?
Right, yeah. And I mean,
For me, reading it, I'm like, I don't know if I would really want, like, a teen to read this, but I could be, like, more.
oh no. I mean, there's like the only thing is like blood and violence even. I'm like There's not really much, I would say, that most people in the United States would find objectionable.
That's fair.
It wasn't that crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do feel like it is kind of that, like, writing for a, still child audience, where it's like, you gotta be like, funny, and then it's all like, ooh, but draw them in with like, the very strong emotional, beats. Which isn't like, I'm not saying that that's like good or bad or even like done well, but just like, I think that that's what they were attempting.
What they're going for.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even they all always have time to like stand around in a room and like yell at the sister. I can't remember her name.
Ari, yeah.
Ari, they're like, you tried to kill Dad. I knew you wanted the suit. I knew it. She killed Dad, and now she's trying to kill Dylan. And she's like, so my loving little brother, I didn't kill our father. I'm like, who says that? But yeah, if it's for teens, then okay, I can see a little bit more. It's like trying to be witty at times.
Yeah.
Grinds my gears.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what makes the most sense to me for this, to make it make sense, I guess.
Then just like give Dylan like some external characteristics.
Right.
I'm begging you.
Yeah.
Begging you. Make him like to draw. I don't know.
Yeah. What does Dylan like? He has kind of like a nice car that he crashes, but we don't get any like, he's like mechanically inclined or anything like that.
Like, did he save up for it? Like,
Yeah,
I forgot that was his car.
Yeah. I wondered that too. I was like, was that like really sad? More than just like, even paying for a car, but like, yeah, did you have to do a job? Like,
that's the thing. It's so insular, right? Like we don't even see like the city suffer because Dylan's not being a great superhero. Like just kind of limited to like their family. They're just fighting. Reality TV.
Yeah, and also, I agree, like, in setting, too, I mentioned earlier, and I do think, like, it would be too much if it was, like, so stereotypically, like, New Orleans, but I'm also, like, I don't know, you put it in the specific setting, like, when Spider-Man is in New York, it is New York, and it's New York, so I'm like, it was kind of weird that the only indication that we got was like swamp and hillbilly villain, minor villain.
That could still be anywhere.
Yeah, that could still be anywhere. Yeah. So it's like, why was it in New Orleans? And like, just why didn't they, make more of a point of that? Oh, and also crosses on like a lot of the buildings, like the French cross kind of thing. But again, that's just very cosmetic, Yeah. Yeah.
That might explain a lot of things, though, if it's for teens.
Right.
Very much I am subsisting off of vibes. And barely that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Was there anything else? I kind of feel like that covers it. It's just one of those things where it's like, there's not a lot, but there is like some pretty big problems,
Like details that add up to like an overall thing we can say. So yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, basically just, it is kind of a little bit sparse, with the characterization and
make it into a play, stage play. Enter right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Dylan's mom yells at him. Dylan exits scene. Dylan goes and fights somebody.
I think
Okay.
that's a little drastic. I mean, I know you're being like,
I'm
funny.
being like,
Facetious.
it just doesn't feel like they ever interact with like. It's about the characters, right? It's
Yeah.
about how they interact. I liked certain parts of. Yeah, they kind of might as well be in a void most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I mean, I just feel like, this could have been more compressed, which, like, decompression did make it really easy to read. And, like, that was, like, kind of part of the fun of it. But also, it was like, I want to see more of, like, what we should expect from this series,
True. Like, what's it gonna look like when it's not surrounding this thing, right?
Yeah.
And you're right. They kind of didn't set up for that too much.
In fact, yeah.
Dylan's just kind of mean at school and doesn't have a girlfriend anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, he doesn't, and that's the other thing, like, why are we even bothering to really cut away to school? Like, I mean, other than maybe it would further the problem of him living in a void.
Yeah.
But, like, we aren't setting up a supporting cast. Like, there is the two kids that he's bullied, that maybe they're gonna.
We don't even see this first one again
Yeah.
for like.
That's like supposed to be his best friend. But yeah, he's pretty much at the end of the book, really at his lowest, which is fine to leave a character, but at the same time, we don't have any idea what Dylan wants,
Right.
But he has no social, anything, no supporting cast other than his new family, basically. His new step family.
Yep.
Which also two of them hate him. So yeah, that's kind of basically problems where it's like, all right, I'm gonna just like if and we'll get to whether we want to read more, but if I'm gonna read more, I'm just gonna kind of have to go in on faith, like. Yeah, so the artwork, I felt like there were definitely parts that I felt like the composition was really good, and I didn't think to look back and see, like, because there were certain artists that, like, worked on certain parts, as I said earlier in the credits. I did not think to look back and see if that was, like, them specifically or if it was, like, all stuff that Abel did. But, yeah, I think that there is some good, but, like, yeah, I do think that Dylan is, like, kind of plain looking. That doesn't help that he doesn't have much characterization. And yeah, I also so it's funny, like I did earlier, we talked about, like, Batman Beyond and, like, kind of a Bruce Timm kind of look. I see a little bit of that, but I also see Greg Capullo from the Scott Snyder Batman run. That's kind of what a lot of the art reminded me of. So yeah.
Interesting.
What about you guys? What did you think of the art?
I like the art. And what I noticed too was, like, to me, Marcus and Gwen, like, looked young. Like, they looked a little too young at times for them to have a 17-year-old kid, in my opinion. But I think the artist did a good job of, like, when we go to those flashbacks, like, oh, Gwen actually looks young.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, those flashbacks, I would say the style I probably like a little more.
Gotcha. You know,
It's a little bit more loose, but it's interesting to look at.
that art style reminds me, for some reason, a lot of Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yeah, I can see that. It reminded me of I always forget his name. Huberto Ramos. Which is also known for drawing Spider-Man, among other things. He's worked on a lot, but yeah.
I want to emphasize, when I meant Spectacular Spider-Man, I meant the TV show.
I know that.
Okay. Just not the...
Yeah, the comic series has had many artists over the years.
Say, I don't know, the art's not particularly spectacular. Like, it's very passable. They use this one texture over everything, and I think it's to make up for the fact that, like, there's just line art. The line art's kind of clean, plain, and there's just colors slapped on top of that, so it's, like, flat colored most of the time. And then they just put a texture over all of it because they're like, oh man, it looks kind of plain.
Okay.
So, like, if you, like, look at the pages, because sometimes there's just, like, not really any light definition. It's really kind of generic.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, for the most...
So the werewolf page, I was going to say, sometimes the composition most of the time totally didn't notice it, didn't think about it too much. But stuff like that one werewolf page, I'm like, there's so many overlapping panels. Like, this is so not great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just sometimes there just would be like, oh my god.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
And the last one is like, I think the art added to them feeling like they're in a void, because a lot of times it was just like the staging, like people are just kind of punching each other, and like there's no sense of space too much. Like in that Demonica page, like the background is just what?
You mean
Like they're like, we know we need a background, but we don't quite know what we're doing here. Like, is the building falling? Are we looking up? Are we looking down? Doesn't matter. We're just gonna punch each other.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that. I think I'll also say, when I said composition, I said the wrong thing, basically, more or less. I think that, these examples in particular, like, just bad. And then also, in general, there's like a couple of spots where I was at least like, okay, you're doing like some interesting panels, but it's kind of like, I feel like 90s, like do really weird, extreme, strange panels, like.
It's like, why? It's like, oh, because we could.
Yeah, because computers are good enough to make them, and I don't have to use my ruler.
Yeah, sometimes it really does feel like it's like just strapped for time, like slap texture on it. We did the page as simple as possible.
Yeah. To correct myself about the things that I did like, I liked some of the faces in close-up, especially like some of the scenes of Gwen in her, villain costume, basically. I felt like they...
Gwen is drawn pretty good in that outfit. Like, there's definitely, like, I like the style. I just don't feel like the artist was given enough time or something. That's why it's so bare bones most of the time.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know. And it kind of makes me wonder, almost like, to look into Abel, which, to be clear, that is just like the name that the artist goes by for this is Abel. And
a quick look up, and I think that's his last name as well.
Oh, yeah. I kind of assume it's a pseudonym of some sort, but like perhaps that just is his last name and he's keeping his first name private. But I'd like to see some of his work, just to like, maybe see a different example, basically. Yeah, I feel like I did some research earlier and I can't remember if he also worked on Power Rangers. He might have. I'm pretty sure, though, the main artist was Nick Lowe for that. So, yeah, I don't know. But, yeah, I'd like to see, because I think, yeah, his figures, basically, they look nice, but it does just seem kind of rushed.
Gotcha. I don't know if I would add this as well, but, like, when, in that flashback, when Marcus shows up as Red Sun to Gwen, he's kind of like leaning on the wall, and the way that he's drawn, he just looks really weird. Like, to me, he doesn't look like a dude. He looks like a very feminine pose.
Yeah, I think I remember that, and I didn't necessarily think that, but I did think it looked really weird. I was like,
Yeah, I think it's just like sometimes with that other style, the faces that were kind of weird angles.
Yeah, and like, in the bottom of that page where Gwen's walking away, her like face was like squished.
Yeah, I think sometimes it was a little wonky, but I found that style more interesting to look at than the other one. I think it was more solid in where like things were placed. Like it felt like a 3D scene as opposed to like paper cutouts for the other one. That sometimes feels like.
Okay.
yeah.
There's pluses and, minuses.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if that that art may be Simone Ragazzoni and not Abel for that one.
It's definitely a different artist than the main one.
Yeah. Okay, then that's the only other one. Well, not the only other one, but the other one other than Abel and Francesco Mortarino was only credited for the interludes. So, yeah, that makes sense then.
Right. But then colorist is also Natalie Marquez.
Yeah. I mean that will also have an effect, but I think that those colors might have been on some of the work that Abel did too.
Gotcha.
But yeah. Anyway, though, anything else to say about the art? No. How do you think that you would want to read more of this? Read Volume 2. Volume 2 is out.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I went back on the notes because I didn't actually remember this. But apparently I liked Radiant Black. And so I was like, okay, so if this is a whole like universe and I like two of the two stories that we've read, pretty good chance I'm going to like the whole thing in general. So I was like,
I enjoyed that you had to consult your notes. Apparently, I enjoyed that other book. You wouldn't know it by looking at the cover, though. There's nothing wrong with Radiant Black, other than everything I pointed out in the episode.
Yeah.
I just remember not liking the last issue, because it was a totally different art style.
Oh, right, because that was kind of
that
an
was
intro.
the backstory stuff.
Yeah. Forgot about that kind of.
Them.
Yeah.
For fleshing out their characters in a different art style, which is interesting that they keep doing that, like doing the flashback scenes in a different art style.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, good point.
I would say I'm a little underwhelmed. It wasn't bad. I definitely like, as I was reading it, the parts I liked, were stronger, I felt, than like Radiant Black. But if that's over, then what do I care about Dylan? I don't like his half siblings. They're just waltzing out there like doing not superhero stuff, supervillain stuff. It's so random.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess Brock, while, being the most like kind of devious seeming one initially, really he didn't do anything wrong other than contacting a witch doctor.
Yeah.
But like, I don't
bring
think...
his father back.
Yeah.
And then his sister's like, actually, I'm gonna kill Dylan. Or like not kill him, but like
yeah, no, definitely
him.
Ari definitely like that's some evil stuff, you know, like that's not good.
She puts on a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought she was under somebody else's control.
Right, yeah. I could see that too. I'm just gonna be at least lightly a Brock defender, where I'm just like, I'm not.
I liked Brock.
Okay,
For sure.
yeah. He kind of also, I didn't say this earlier. He reminded me of Damian Wayne.
Oh yeah, for sure. But that's the thing. We like got more scenes to care about Brock than Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Dylan's just terrorizing everyone around him most of the time.
I really thought that they were gonna go where, like, what happened to Dylan like made him change a little bit, because he goes up and kind of seemingly defends Reggie, who's the second guy that got bullied from the other bullies. It's like, oh no, I'm gonna fight you. Like, I thought they were gonna turn that as like, this is the start of him like turning around.
No progress. You're right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
mean,
you go ahead.
I definitely think that it's like he did that, right? And so it's like, I think there's some hope there.
Yeah, I didn't fully believe him. I think that he still wanted to leave an impression on Reggie that, like he said, we're not friends, I did this for selfish reasons. But I think that you are supposed to not fully believe Dylan, that, he is kind of becoming good for,
It's the Bigfoot thing, right? It's not Bigfoot, but like go away. We don't love you anymore. You have to go back to your own kind. Like style for children's movies where it's like, no, I actually hate you. That's why I'm helping you.
Okay, you lost me for a second there. Okay.
Yeah,
I understand where you're going.
Yeah, I got it now.
You haven't watched enough bad movies.
Nope.
No, I thought like he was gonna like team up with like his half siblings, like, winning them over somehow.
Yeah.
But he doesn't.
That's what I assume is going to happen in Volume 2, but that's again the overly
sure hope the story does something.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like obvious enough that, like, basically, well, now he lives with them. There's no way that they're just going to keep on being antagonists,
Oh, darn. Brock ruined my day again.
Yeah. Otherwise, he'd just leave. He'd be
right.
This is worse than being homeless.
He even said, with family like these, who needs enemies?
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to become a little crime-fighting trio, but, like, also they're not going to go out, like, on patrol together, probably. They're just, like, they're going to be his support system, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Just like the original Rogue Sun.
I will
sure hope Marcus raised them all very well.
Something that made me question, with Juliet in particular, at the end where she's talking to Dylan right before she invites him to stay with her. She's like, right after she invites him to stay with her, his response is, "This isn't going to bring your husband back," and her response to that is, "My husband is dead." Mm-hmm. And then she goes on. I forget what she says exactly, but it just made me wonder if how that was said. I was like, is that supposed to hint at something nefarious, or am I supposed to understand as like she has grieved?
She's grieved, yeah. That's at least how I took it and how I think you're supposed to take it.
Yeah.
Until the next twist.
Next twist, yeah.
I will say, I would not like that at all.
Yeah. It was her who was controlling Gwen. No.
It was somebody else.
She is the person with the handprint on her face.
Put the handprint on him.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. I think that's kind of the main problem I have with a lot of these stories where we read like, I don't mean these stories, I mean as in this universe of these stories, like Radiant Black and then Rogue Sun. In terms of like I think you were hinting at this sort of, Cody, and we didn't super talk about it, where like, it goes into the whole twist. Needs to have the twist.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what are you going to do after that? If we rely so much on like this specific kind of twist, it was, I am your father, like kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
How many times can we do that?
Fair.
Yeah, it does kind of beg the question. It's like, are we just going to be like twists through this whole series, or is it they're going to be kind of a status quo, which like, yeah, again, gets back to, we didn't really set this up in this first volume. Yeah.
This was a long way of saying I'm not super interested in reading more.
Yeah. I get you. Yeah, I will say, even though I, as very agreeable about, the things that didn't work, I think that this one swayed me a lot more than Radiant Black. In Radiant Black, I was like, I really did not... I found the character who becomes Radiant Black to not just be unlikable, but to be, like, directly annoying.
Yeah.
At least Dylan isn't annoying, even if he's unlikable. And, along with that, I was impressed with, like, some of the twists that were, I think done well, at least, and some of the subversions of what you might expect from just a standard superhero story. So yeah, I think that for that reason, I'm kind of interested to read a little bit more. In general, maybe the massive universe, in general. So yeah, I'll say, it's not problematic, but I guess I'm probably grading it a little bit on a curve for just what superhero comics are today, In
like the sense that it's typical and this is not, like...
in the sense that, like, what, like, the big two publishers, Marvel and DC, like, I'm still a fan of those comics, generally, depending on series and writer and artist and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But, what to expect from them. And
This bested your expectations.
I wouldn't go that far, but it at least met them and bested in a couple of areas. And so, yeah. I think that for that reason, I'm like, okay, I'd read more. It interested me enough.
I'll allow it.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all we have for the show, though. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you are interested to hear more of our thoughts about Radiant Black, make sure to check out our episode on wherever you get podcasts, on Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts. I mean, not Apple Music. All of those platforms. This has been the Comic Panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Taylon.
And I'm Shawenta.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, or Podbean. You can support this podcast by sharing it with anyone you know and by rating and reviewing our podcast. You can also reach out to us with any thoughts you have on the things we talk about on Twitter at TheComicPanel1 and on Instagram and Facebook at The Comic Panel. We appreciate your feedback and look forward to sharing many more comic thoughts with you. Have a blessed day.